Looking at question 10, it's a tech active question and it is our Unit 4 quiz for math methods. So we've got a sample of N people and we've got 90% of them said that the income tax was too high when they were asked. So our first question is that what is the sample proportion for this scenario? So when we have we're given that 90% there, we're just going to say our p hat or our sample proportion is 0.9 because 90% of the people said that the income tax was too high. The next one says write down an expression for E, the margin of error, in terms of N. Now when we're working out the margin of error, that's that part that we are adding or subtracting from our mean to work out our confidence interval. And so in this question, actually left out, it was margin of error in terms of N for the 95% confidence interval. So we need that, what percentage that we're looking for to be able to know what number to put in front of the square root sign. So we have our square root where we have our sample proportion outside of one take, p hat over n, and in front of that we're putting that number, which is the z-score, for that percentage. So for 95%, it's the 1.96. If we were looking at 90%, it would be the 1.64, etc. And you're getting them from your calculator if you're unsure how to get those values. It's using your inverse norm where you have the 0.95 for the area, mean of 0, standard deviation of 1, and you're looking for the centre there. And so you can see we've got the negative 1.96 to 1.96. That's where these values are coming from. So if you're wanting to get a different percentage, so for the 90, if you wanted 90%, you'll put 0.9 there and do that again. And see how we get the negative 1.64 and 1.64. So that's where those values are coming from. They're those z-scores. Now we need to put in the information that we have. Now we don't have n, so we're just going to leave it with the n there. So we have our 1.96, the square root of, and we've got the 0.9, and we're multiplying that by 1 take away 0.9, which is 0.1, over n. So then we can multiply that out and we have the 1.96 and the square root of 0.09 over n. We can't go any further because we don't know what the n is. Then it says if the number of people was doubled, so our n value, how would that affect E? So when we put that into our rule, we would have our 1.96 and we would have the 0.09, but that would be over 2n. And we're trying to say, like, look at what that effect is. So we don't know what the n is, so we can't work it out, but what we can do is separate this out a little bit to try and simplify it. So we can make that 0.09 over n, and we're multiplying that by the 1 over 2. So we're kind of splitting that part up, which means we can then do the 1.96, the square root of 1 on 2, times the square root of 0.09 over n, and that way we can then simplify this part to 1 over root 2 and the square root of 0.09 over n. So then we can see that this part here is the same, that's the same, and the 1 on root 2 is the bit that is different. So that's the effect that it would have of doing that. And we can work that out as a decimal because it is a tech active question. So we can do that 1 divided by root 2 and we get 0.7 will be the factor that it is multiplied by. So that's how what the effect will be. It will be multiplied by 0.707 or 1 on root 2.